I broke into the television industry early on as a page at NBC. It's 1985, and that was my first job in the industry. And a page is someone who will do tours, get audiences in and out of shows, that kind of thing, and you'll have the odd assignment now. And one day I was assigned to work the fall sales presentation, which was a luncheon in Century City, and it's where they set up a lunch for potential sponsors who are looking at buying airtime for the new fall season. And so they'll show you clips and highlights of the new shows that are coming up. And there weren't too many slots to fill that year in '85 because of the success of the shows that they had put on in 1984. And most of those shows were because they were clones of the successful shows they had done in 1983. On the heels of A-Team came Riptide, which was A-Team on a boat. And shows that were like, the girls' answer to Silver Spoons was Punky Brewster. And these all became successful shows. The big show of '84 that turned the network around, turned them into first place and third place. Fox wasn't really on the map yet. And it was huge. And of course, that was The Cosby Show. And I remember at the time, it was such a huge hit, thinking, Bill Cosby will never be more famous than he is right now. I lost that bet. Anyway, Brandon Tartikoff comes out and says, we're going to do something we've never done before. We're going to show you the entire pilot of a show that we're very proud of. And they proceeded to show the entire pilot of the show The Golden Girls. And no one had seen it. And at the end of the 20 minutes, everybody was through the roof enthused about it. And I looked at that and went, that's going to be a dynamite show. The original pilot, by the way, had a character in there that didn't make it into the series, a gay cook. Coco was in the original show. He was very funny. But they cut him out of the series, thinking, I guess, the show was gay enough. And I always thought, how'd you like to be that guy? Right? I mean, just every Saturday night for the next few years, sit at home with a gun in your mouth. Anyway, I got back to the studio and I told my supervisor that if we end up handling the show The Golden Girls, that I'd like to be in charge of it for the page department. He said, we haven't heard anything about that, but sure. And a couple of weeks later, he says, yeah, Thomas Harris is going to hire us to handle their audiences. And so if you want to be in charge of that on Friday nights, that's great. And so on every Friday night, they would do 2 tapings. They do a 5 o'clock taping, break for dinner and take notes, and go down and do a 7:30 taping. And so that's what I was doing with my Friday nights, and it was just a blast. And my plan was to infiltrate with Thomas Harris, ingratiate myself to the producers, and get a job on The Golden Girls and see if I couldn't break into a show that I knew would be around for quite a long time. And that's exactly what happened. I ended up as a production assistant on the show, and it was a thrill to be on the set every day with these women that were iconic, already were, on a show that was to become iconic, and getting to know them was a real pleasure. I remember when I first started working there, I was walking across the set, and I was whistling the song Misty, and B. Arthur looked up from her magazine and said, "That is my favorite song." And I said, you know, how can you go wrong with Errol Garner? She goes, I love that you know who wrote it. We're going to be friends. And it was just such a sweet moment. I would have to take them to different assignments now and then. Like there was a press and publicity thing at NBC once, and so I had to escort the ladies over there. And they went in and they did all these interviews one night. And after it was over, and I'm taking Betty White out to her car, then somebody stopped her and said, hey, Betty, do you mind if we do a quick 2-minute interview on camera over here? And she goes, oh, honey, I'm out of makeup now, my hair, the event's kind of over. She says, please, oh, okay. And they did it, and I'm walking her to her car, and she says, now, they better not ask B to do that. She'll tell them to go fuck themselves. And it made me laugh, just the idea of B saying that, but hearing Betty say it just really made me laugh. And the truth is that B was actually very gracious with the public. And I remember one time between shows where we had just done the 5 o'clock show, and Betty and B and I were waiting at the elevator to go up to dinner. And these 3 girls who had just seen the early show come around the corner and spot them, and they get very excited. They're looking for the bathroom, and they find B. Arthur and Betty White. And one of them says, oh, can we say hi? And Betty says, hi. And it's awkward because they don't know what to say. And one of them notices that B is wearing sandals and just says, do you wear sandals because you're just so much taller than everybody else? And Betty and I held our breath. And Bea was very sweet. She says, actually, honey, the truth is I usually go barefoot on the stage, which is true. But when there's people around, I wear sandals. So, oh. And they walked away, and as they're just possibly out of earshot, maybe not necessarily, Bea says, now go fuck yourselves. And one of them kind of heard it and turned around, not quite sure, and we were standing there with frozen smiles, and the elevator door opened, we got in, and the door shut, and Benny and I just fell down laughing. It was great fun to be working there, and there was one week in particular that I'll never forget. It was after the Monday morning table read. And it was the Christmas episode. The reading went well. And then Rue McClanahan went up to Paul Witt and said, I'm ill. I have to go home. And Paul says, we'll cancel the show. Well, and she goes, no, that costs millions of dollars. Don't cancel the show. I know my body. She said, I'll be fine in a couple of days. Send me the rewrites. I'll know the lines. I'll be back on Thursday, and we'll tape on Friday. It'll be fine. Don't cancel the show. She turns to me and says, have Jimmy fill in for me. And I said, sure, I'll fill in for Rue. And Paul says, okay, I'll tell you what, fill in for Rue today. We'll call the union and get an actor out here tomorrow to fill in for the rest of the week. And so for the rest of the day, I was Blanche Devereaux. And it was an actor's dream come true. You're literally working with Bea Arthur and Betty White and Estelle Getty. And it was the Christmas episode, and Betty has convinced everyone to make each other presents instead of buying things and try to lose some of the commercialism of it. And Blanche hands out the same gift to everybody. I made everybody the same thing, and Bea opens it up and looks at it and says, the men of Blanche's boudoir. And I say, it's a calendar. And the ladies start laughing, and Terry Hughes, the director, says, Jim, you don't do the accents. Sorry, I didn't know I was. And so we go back, and Bea gives me the line again and says, the men of Blanche's boudoir. And I said, it's a calendar. I said, fuck, I can't not do the accent. And I was trying desperately not to do it, and the more I couldn't lose the accent, the harder they would laugh. And we went on with the scene anyway. The next line was, she goes, oh my God, and I say, October? And she says, I'm surprised you could walk in November. And it was a very funny episode. It was a really fun day. And so the next day I come into work and I say, who did they get from the union to fill in for Rue? They said, the ladies will only do it with you. Which wasn't something I was accustomed to hearing. And so I spent the week as Blanche in the Golden Girls. Rue returned on Thursday, and she was right. She was feeling fine. She was doing the Thursday run-through, and there was one line she delivered that just kind of laid there and didn't get a big laugh. And there was suddenly this awkward silence, and Bea finally turns around and says, Jimmy, show Rue how to do that line. That was, I think, my best moment ever. On tape night, I ended up going around and putting a rose on each of their dressing room tables as a thank you for so much fun that week. And I was saying goodnight to them all, and when I got to Bea's dressing room, she goes, Jimmy, is this rose from you? I said, it is. She goes, I am so touched. I said, well, that's very nice of you. She said, no, really, I am just so touched. I said, well, you're very welcome, Bea. And I was walking down the hall, I'm not sure. I heard her say, now go fuck yourself. Anyway, that was my favorite week working on the show. It was my week as a Golden Girl.